During September of 2001, I attended an estate sale in Portland, Oregon. The items liquidated at this sale were from the estate of a woman who had passed away at the age of 103. A granddaughter of the woman told me about her grandmother. She had been born in Poland, where she grew up, married, raised a family, and lived until she was sent to a Nazi concentration camp during World War II. She was the only member of her family who survived the camp. Her parents, brothers, a sister, husband, and two sons and a daughter were all killed. She survived the camp by escaping with some other prisoners and somehow making her way to Spain, where she lived until the end of the war. I was told that she acquired the small wine cabinet listed here in Spain, and it was only one of the three items that she brought with her when she immigrated to the United States. The other two items were a steamer trunk and a sewing box. I purchased the wine cabinet along with the sewing box and some other furniture at the estate sale. After the sale, I was approached by the woman's granddaughter, who said, "I see you got the Dibbuk Box." She was referring to the wine cabinet. I asked her what a Dibbuk Box was, and she told me that when she was growing up, her grandmother always kept the cabinet in her sewing room. It was always shut and set in a place where it was just out of reach of her. The grandmother always called it the Dibbuk Box. When the girl asked her grandmother what was inside, her grandmother spit 3 times through her fingers, said a Dibbuk and Casilium. The grandmother went on to tell the girl that the wine cabinet was never, ever to be opened. The granddaughter told me that her grandmother had asked that the box be buried with her. However, as such a request was contrary to the rules of the Orthodox Jewish burial, the grandmother's request had not been honored. I asked the granddaughter what a Dibbuk and Casilium were, but she did not know. I asked if she would like to open it with me. She did not want to open it, as her grandmother had been very emphatic and serious when she instructed her not to do so, and, regardless of the reason, she wanted to honor her grandmother's request, which I respected. I finally ended up offering to let her keep what seemed to be a sentimental keepsake. At that point, she was very insistent and said, No, you bought it, you keep it. I explained that I didn't want my money back and that it would make me feel better to do what I thought was just an act of kindness. She then became somewhat upset. Looking back now, the way she became upset was just plain odd. She raised her voice to me and said, "You bought it, you made a deal." When I tried to speak, she yelled, "We don't want it." She began to cry, asked me to leave, and quickly walked away. I wrote the whole episode off to the stress and grief she must have been experiencing. I took my purchases and politely left. At the time when I bought the cabinet, I owned a small furniture and refinishing business. I took the cabinet to my store and put it in my basement workshop, where I intended to refinish it and give it as a gift to my mother. I didn't think anything more about it for a while. I opened my shop for the day and went to run some errands, leaving the young woman who did sales for me in charge. After about half an hour, I got a call on my cell phone. The call was from my salesperson. She was absolutely hysterical and screaming that someone was in my workshop breaking glass and swearing. Furthermore, the intruder had locked the iron security gates and the emergency exit, and she couldn't get out. As I told her to call the police, my cell phone battery went dead. I hit speeds of 100 miles per hour getting back to the shop. When I arrived, I found the gates locked. I went inside and found my employee on the floor in the corner of my office, sobbing hysterically. I ran to the basement and went downstairs. At the bottom of the stairs, I was hit by an overpowering, mistakable odor of cat urine, but there had never been any animals kept or found in my shop. Lights didn't work. As I investigated, I found that the reasons lights didn't work also explained the sound of broken glass. All of the light bulbs in the basement were broken. All 9 incandescent bulbs had been broken in their sockets, and 10 4-foot fluorescent tubes were lying shattered on the floor. I did not find an intruder, however. I should also add that there was also one entrance to the basement. It would have been impossible for anyone to leave without meeting me head on. I went back up to speak with my salesperson, but she had already left. She never returned to work, after having been with me for 2 years. She refuses to discuss the incident to this day. I I never thought of relating the events of that day to anything with the cabinet. As I already said, I had decided to give the cabinet to my mother as a birthday gift. About 2 weeks after I made the purchase, I decided to start refinishing it. I was surprised to find the cabinet had a unique little mechanism. When you open one of the doors, the mechanism causes the opposite door and the little drawer at the same time to open. It is very well made. Inside the cabinet, I found the following items: one 1928 U.S. wheat penny, one 1925 U.S. wheat penny, one small locket of blonde hair bound with string, one small lock of black and brown hair bound with string, one small granite statue engraved and gilded with Hebrew letters. I have been told that the letters spell out the word shalom. One dried rosebud, one golden wine cup, one very strange black cast iron candlestick holder with octopus legs. I saved all the items in the box, intending to return them to the estate. The family has refused the items, so they will be included in the sale of the cabinet. After opening the cabinet, I decided not to refinish it. I cleaned it and rubbed it in some lemon oil. It was at this time that I noticed that there is an inscription in Hebrew carved into the back of the cabinet. I have no idea what it says or if it is even significant. I have included a picture of that inscription. On my mother's birthday, October 28, 2001, my mother called to tell me that she was going out of town with my sister for 3 days, and we postponed celebrating her birthday together until she returned. On October 31st, 2001, my mother came to the shop. We're going to have lunch together. But before we're going to leave, I gave her the wine cabinet. She seemed to like it. While she examined it, I went to make a phone call. I hadn't been out of sight for more than 5 minutes when one of my employees came running into my office, saying that something was wrong with my mom. When I went back inside to see what was the matter, I found my mom sitting in a chair beside the cabinet. Her face had no expression, but tears were streaming down her cheeks. No matter how I tried to get her to respond, she would not. She could not. It turns out that my mother had suffered a stroke. She was taken to the hospital by ambulance. She ended up suffering partial paralysis and losing her ability to speak and form words. She has since regained the ability to speak. She could understand things being said to her and could respond by pointing to letters of the alphabet. When I asked her the following day how she was doing, she teared up and spelled out the words, "No gift." I assured her that I'd given her a gift for her birthday, thinking that she didn't remember, but she became even more upset and spelled out the words, "hate gift." I laughed and told her not to worry. I told her I was sorry she didn't like the cabinet and that I would get her anything she wanted if she would promise to get well soon. Still, I didn't associate anything that had happened with the cabinet to itself or anything paranormal. Frankly, I don't think I ever even used the term paranormal until this month. I'll try to make this short now. I gave the cabinet to my sister. She kept it for a week and then gave it back. She complained that she couldn't get the doors to stay closed and they kept opening themselves. There are no springs in the door mechanism, and I have never found that the doors come open. I gave it to my brother and his wife, who kept it for 3 days and then gave it back. My brother said it smelled like jasmine flowers, while his wife insisted that it put out an odor of cat urine. I gave it to my girlfriend, who asked me to sell it for her after only 2 days. I sold it the same day to a nice middle-aged couple. 3 days later, when I came to open the shop for the day, I found the cabinet sitting at the front doors with a note that read, "This has a bad darkness." I had no idea what that meant. Anyway, I ended up taking it home. Then, things got worse. Since the day I brought it home, I began having a strange recurring nightmare. Every time I have the horrible dream, it goes something like this. I find myself walking with a friend, usually someone I know well and trust at some point in the dream. I find myself looking into the eyes of the person that I'm with. It is then that I realize that there's something different, something evil looking back at me. At that point in my dream, the person I am was changed into something that can only be described as most gruesome. Demonic-looking hag that I've ever seen. The hag proceeds then to beat the living tar out of me. I've awakened numerous times to find bruises and marks on myself where I've been hit by the old woman during the previous night. Still, I never related the nightmare to the cabinet, nor do I think that I ever would have. About a month ago, however, my sister and my brother and his wife came over to my house and spent the night. The following morning, during breakfast, my sister complained that she had a horrible nightmare. She said she had recalled having had it a couple of times before and went on to describe the nightmare exactly to the last detail. My brother and his wife froze as they listened and then chimed in that they both had the same exact dream during the night as well. The hair was standing up on the back of my neck and still is. As we talked, it became clear that the common denominator was that each of us had had the nightmare during the times when the cabinet was in our respective homes. I called my girlfriend and asked if she could recall having any nightmares recently. She described the same nightmare, same hag, everything. When I asked her if she remembered the date when she had the nightmare, she said she didn't. Then I asked if it happened to her the night before she gave me the cabinet back to sell for her. She said, "Yeah." How did you know that? Now then, since my family discussion, it seems like all hell is breaking loose. For a week afterward, I started seeing that I can only describe as shadow things in my peripheral vision. In fact, numerous visitors to my house have claimed that they have seen these shadow things. I put the cabinet in an outside storage unit and was awakened when the smoke alarm in the unit went off in the middle of the night. When I went to see what was burning, I opened the door and didn't see any smoke. However, I did get hit with the smell of cat urine. When I went back inside, the smell was still in my house. I do not own a cat, and I never have. I went back outside and grabbed the cabinet. I brought it back inside and tried to research it on the internet. While I was surfing the net, I fell asleep, and once again had the same nightmare. I woke up at around 4:30 when it felt like, and smelled like, someone was breathing on my neck. To find that my house now smelled like jasmine flowers. And just in time to see a huge shadow thing go loping down the hall away from me. I would destroy this thing in a second, except I don't really have an understanding of what I may or may not be dealing with. I'm afraid, and I do mean afraid, that if I destroy the cabinet, whatever it is that seems to have come with the cabinet may just stay here with me. I've been told that there are people who shop on eBay that understand these kinds of things and specifically look for these kinds of items. If you're one of these people, please buy this cabinet and do whatever you want with this damn thing. Help me. You can see that I have no reserve price or minimum bid. If I can make things any easier, let me know, and I'll do everything within my abilities. One more note. On the same day, my mom had her stroke. The lease to my store was summarily terminated without cause. The measurements are 12.5 inches by 7.5 inches by 16.25 inches. All the items that are originally found inside the cabinet are included in the sale and will be delivered with the cabinet. On June 12, 2003, at 2:15 p.m., seller added the following information. There is no way that I can respond to all the emails I've received since I put this thing online. I'll try now to update and answer the most common questions that I've been receiving. No, I'm not religious. No, do I not wish to study or have participate in any sort of exorcism or case study or photo sessions at my home. No, I will not sell any of the individual pieces which came originally found separate from the other pieces of the cabinet. No, I do not speak Hebrew, nor do I know what the word Kasilium means. I don't know that the word is even or a Hebrew word. At the end of the auction, I have decided to take an opportunity to speak with the winning bidder for two reasons. A, to make sure that the winning bidder is a serious adult who has employed some valid reasoning skills in making the decision to accept whatever this is. I will not be judgmental. Do whatever you want or need after the sale. And B, to offer full details of the events that have transpired. After I have carried out these responsibilities and upon payment, I will have the cabinet and its contents delivered by U.S. mail, FedEx, or UPS to the winning bidder. At that point, I'll have no further involvement with the matter in any way, shape, or form. Period. To all of you who have offered to pray, I may not be religious, but I'm certainly open to the possibilities, no matter what your religion may be. Thank you. On June 14th, 2003, at 5:21, seller added the following information. Here's another update for anyone who may be listening. No, I will not circumvent or make any deals outside of eBay, even for more money than the final auction price. If you want to win the auction and have the kind of money some of you are offering, there shouldn't be any reason why you cannot simply place your bid in an open, honest fashion. I'm sure you can understand why it might be suspicious. Also, for those of you wanting to know if I'm still experiencing anything out of the ordinary, I thought everything was okay until I got home on Friday, 13th of June out of all days, and found that the fish in my freshwater aquarium, all 10, were dead. I'm still hoping that all of this is just coincidental crap.